All right, guys. I just got done recording with Coach Wilkie. It was a great episode. It was 1 hour and 20 minutes long. The reason I'm doing a little intro is because there was like two or three times where my internet kind of got a little laggy. Just wanted to give you guys a heads up about that. But going forward, this won't be an issue. I'm getting a new computer. This college laptop has been getting overworked a little bit with the tabs, the screen recording, the amount of stuff that I have plugged into it. So going forward, it shouldn't happen. Just bear with us. It happens like two or three times. But for the most part, it's good audio and it's good video and it's good content. I hope you guys enjoy. Roll the intro. What's up, Minnesota high school football fans? I'm here with Coach Wilkie once again alongside of me. This is going to be leading up to week 3 in the Minnesota high school football season. Once again, I'm pumped up for it. I know people, especially like having your perspective, a coach's perspective on it. Thanks for joining me once again.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I love doing it, and I'm really surprised at how many people have reached out from different parts of the state. I had a former student, friend, colleague, my head football coach's son. He reached out to me. He's down in Breckenridge, and just talking to different people around the state. So it's really cool how many people north, south, east, and west of the Twin Cities are tuning in and listening to us talk football. So that's fun.
Yeah, we'll start it off. I mean, if you haven't watched any of our previous podcasts, first off, what are you doing, right? Let's watch them up, and then also I release rankings basically every week. I try to get them done. Sometimes I get a busy weekend, so this week released a little later than I wanted to, but basically top 25 is kind of like the college style that a lot of people are used to for every class, which there's 6A, 5A, 4A, 3A, 2A, 1A, and 9-player in Minnesota. So there's a lot more football teams. We think of just these metro big teams, and those are fun to talk about. But there's also these littler teams and communities like you're talking about as well that have a lot of talent, really good coaching, and hardcore fan bases as well.
You got it.
So
yeah, I tell you, I couldn't agree more. And like I said, the more I've done this has probably been the most fun part about this piece is forcing me to do homework on outstate football. And like I said, especially the 1A and the 2A. And I next week on my goal is to get some 9-man stuff in. I want to learn more about that and talk to some of those coaches. But there's some really good coaching, and the passion in those communities. I grew up in a small town, and Friday night lights is a big deal, and it's what's going on in that town, and everybody is there, and it's really, really cool. So it's fun to talk about those teams as well.
Yeah. Well, if you've listened to the other podcasts, you know that My 7 on 7 is a key contributor to Minnesota High School Football Network, a proud sponsor, and we like working together. I go to some of their events and record and stuff like that. I also saw that they released they're doing like a girls flag football league for the fall, which I think is cool, especially with the girls flag football scene kind of growing, especially with the help of Minnesota Vikings. Let's Play Football, who's a partner with us, is doing a lot to up that scene. So that's something fun. On top of women's leagues and girls youth leagues, they also have guys leagues as well, high school, youth, all that. And like I said, it's not just in one place. They have a lot of places. They've actually grown bigger, and now they're in like North Dakota, Wisconsin, Texas, stuff like that. But these Minnesota leagues is kind of where they started. I know Ty, he's a really good guy, and he focuses on development of players, and I love that guy. So go check him out, My 7 on 7. Get your skills up in the off season. So when you come,
that'll be your next year. Like, we're gonna have to do rankings for the flag football for the girls.
That's an idea.
I think half the MIAC schools have a flag football. So like, because it's growing at the youth and high school level, there's got to be a place for those young ladies to play in college. So I know that's growing as well. So that's really cool. The more people that love football, the better.
For sure. All right, let's get into it. Without the 6A top 25 for this week, nothing really changed as far as the top 3. Shakopee went head to head with Lakeville South, and it was a battle that we all anticipated. Kind of a rock fight, low scoring game, which I kind of expected going into that game. Yeah, I mean, it's starting there. Edina jumped Moorhead. Unfortunately, I think the rumor is Jed Feeney broke his collarbone or something to that extent.
I did not hear that.
Which is awful. You never
That
want
is
one of the best
terrible.
players in the state go, not just, and you don't want anybody to suffer that, but a
Sure.
quarterback, especially on
Premium
one of the
player
best
like
teams
that.
that was in
Yep.
title contention. It kind of, if it is going to be for the season, it kind of wipes out Moorhead in my eyes of being in title contention. But I said from the spring that they're probably my favorite to win in 2026 if we look ahead to next year. So at least it's not his senior season that he sustained injury. But what are you thinking about the top 5, top 10?
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the top 5 is okay. I think it's getting more crowded in there. Like I'm looking at the second line, thinking who belongs in the first row, and I would have probably just. I guess I didn't get a chance to watch that Moorhead game, but looking at the box score, it looks like they had it in hand. But nonetheless, they gave up a lot of points to an okay Woodbury team. That score kind of surprised me, and I know that a lot of those points are in the fourth quarter, and you don't know what's going on, but nonetheless, I really think that Eden Prairie still keeping them a little low in my world. I think I watched a lot of the Eden Prairie Maple Grove game, and man, I tell you that's how hard to have them where you have them. I don't know, man. I think that Eden Prairie is I don't know. I'd like to see them play Shakopee tomorrow, and see how that goes.
Right.
We're going to get to that, but we'll get to that midpoint. But I think 3 weeks from now, you tell me that you don't have Eden Prairie up there in that third spot, maybe fourth spot. So that'd be my only contention in there. I think those interchangeable Forest Lake, Centennial, Champlin Park, very interchangeable. I liked what Edina did to Wayzata, and maybe we're finding out that Wayzata is struggling a little this year. So maybe some of those wins aren't as marquee as they would have been in the past. But I think there's going to be some movement this next week. I think that Centennial Champlin game will tell us a lot more in week 3 when you start doing kind of some score comparisons, which isn't always fair because of how matchups work and injuries happen. But but I do think next week, depending on what happens with Moorhead, they're going to slide down potentially. I think that Forest Lake is going to slide up into that first row. I think Eden Prairie is going to slide up into that first row, and Centennial is going to move over to that first spot. So that's just where I'm at with it.
I think I made these rankings before I knew Feeney was probably done for the season as well. I don't think I'd have Moorhead this high if I knew that. But
I think, but you can base it on what they've done to this point. I guess is fair. After that, I guess who knows, man. I tell you what, I've had my time when a backup quarterback came in and you didn't realize how close he was to number 1. And they can come in, and if you got a solid team, if you get a decent quarterback in there, they still have good receivers and they still have a solid defense. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't write them off too fast, but we'll see what happens this week.
Yeah, that the Champlin's a team that's gaining interest for me, at least, going into, they've been around 500 basically for the last 5 years, not really taking a step up or taking a step down, really, just kind of being flatlined. And I think this might be the year that Champlin bumps up. They had a really good win over Andover that could have went either way. Champlin very well could have lost that game, but yeah, it was just a fun competitive game.
Yeah. Yeah, that was my game to watch a lot of. I streamed that one, and that was a heck of a game. Andover went right down and scored really quickly. It was a good battle. There was a touchdown called back. Andover had a touchdown to go up and kind of make this kind of put it away. That holding call brought it back, 2 points off the board. But the final drive by Champlin was really impressive. Scored with about 54 seconds left on the clock. So they did a really nice job. Both teams are solid. I mean, there's not a big difference. They could play 5 times and be 3-2.
Yeah, for sure. One of the things that that I saw in
Excuse me.
I tried to pick out a couple of schematic things just for the general public to have your opinion on, and one of them came up in I just removed it. Here
Sure.
it is. All right. So for I guess this happened. This is Andover versus Champlain. This is just a screenshot of a formation that
Mm-hmm.
Andover runs a lot.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it's a trips look, which is pretty standard, but usually for those of you that don't know, there's at most 4 people in the backfield at one play for the offense. So if you look with a close eye here, you can see they're not running like a standard trips formation. They actually have a receiver covered at the top of our screen.
They're unbalanced. Yeah.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
unbalanced.
So that means
Yep.
the tackle's not covered up obviously on the bottom of our screen. Just what kind of predicament is this Andover offense causing when they kind of line up in this?
Well, one of the things that Andover does well is run the quarterback. So you put teams in a tough situation here because they can run the tunnel screen, bubble screen over to the 3 receiver side, and then you still have your speed option and can still run inside zone and trap and counter on the inside. So you're kind of widening that to the field with the defense trying to cover up that. Obviously Champlain recognizes this. They're not, they had seen this on film. Just for people that are watching this, the widest wide receiver toward the sideline on the top of the screen is eligible. The receiver to his inside is not eligible because he's covered up. The third receiver is eligible. So there's a few things you can and can't do. That second receiver could catch a screen behind the line of scrimmage, but not downfield. But it does stretch that defense, the way they line up in that set. And I know that, they want to run this boundary speed option, and you still have to honor the inside zone play there too. So you can still throw the ball downfield. I think right here, you look at that. To me, when I look at that coverage out there, obviously they're splitting the difference between the corner and the safety. There's only the widest wide receiver is a downfield threat. So the way they have it bracketed with the outside backer, their understanding of that being a bubble screen to the 3 receiver or tunnel screen to the 1. So that's kind of how you do it. Did you have a question on it more than that?
I guess when a team lines up like this, are they basically saying that they're running or throwing a screen pass with having a receiver covered?
Well, the way what I would run out of this if I was doing it may be different than Coach DeVellis, but knowing what they're trying to accomplish here is you're trying to make the defense kind of pick a side a little bit, because you've got them stretched to the field with 3 receivers over on that side. And really, if you look to that side, the numbers in the box are still even favorable to the field if they're going to run speed option that way. You have that widest that linebacker that's got his back kind of turned to Joseph Mapson that you could run option that way too. So it does put the defense in a little bit of a predicament that way. But when you're that unbalanced set, that changes roles by defense. But this isn't something Champlain hasn't seen, so they can identify it. But again, it's not a tendency play. It's basically, I think Coach DeVellis and I have a similar philosophy of we're both no huddle guys. So when you line up like this, it's like, I want to see how the defense lines up and then call my play.
Yeah.
I think that's the advantage that you do have in a no huddle situation when you're signaling plays to the quarterback and the rest of the team. So.
Yeah. Was there anything else in the power rankings? I'll get back to it. I think, I don't know. I think Andover,
sure.
It's tough because they obviously lost a close one. I think Stillwater, I think we talked about putting up more of a fight at Maple Grove, and they obviously played Park and ran through them. I think Stillwater has a chance to challenge Forest Lake. The more I look at it, even though you think about it, Nick Kinsey leaving, so you think
without a doubt,
you kind of count Stillwater out at least in the offseason, but I think we're getting traction that Stillwater might be a pretty good team.
Yeah, and I think the other part too is we should never discount. good, solid football programs like Stillwater, I know Nick Kinsey is a great quarterback, no doubt. There's other kids in the program, that are working toward it, and they're going to be the next quarterback and so on. Sometimes that kid gets his chance sooner. But I think I think Stillwater will give Forest Lake a chance. I thought the Forest Lake Anoka game was a good battle, well coached. I did watch the clips on that. Forest Lake did not have their starting running back in the game, which can change. They still won by 11, but it might have been a difference maker, So and Howie, it looked, and I had heard that he was a little dinged up in the game too. So yeah, that's just part of football. So there's not excuses being made, but it does sometimes level the field to a certain extent. But yeah, I think the Stillwater piece, you're on the right track. I think Andover, they've got a bounce back game this week with Coon Rapids. So they're going to get healthy. Stillwater, like they said, they did what they were supposed to do, and hopefully they stayed healthy in that match. And then they've got a quarterback that just keeps getting better because he gets more experience every week. It's a growing and learning and maturing piece.
Yeah. One of the thing in the Instagram comments, I don't read a ton of them. I try to read some though. And there was a little bit of outrage with Farmington not making the list. It's a 2-0 team that's not on the top 25.
Just read the good ones, right? Just don't skip the guys that don't like you.
Farmington beat Eastview by 7 points, which the first week, which giving 20 points up to Eastview, I don't think is the best look. And then only beating them by 7, I think many people thought. And I think Eastview is one of the bottom tier teams in 6A.
Sure.
And then you get to, I didn't know where Lakeville North is going to be this season. And I think they're a lot more underwhelming than I thought. And that was also their other win to make them 2-0, and they beat Lakeville North by 4 points, and it was 7-3.
Well, still, I mean, and I look at that too. Like, I think anytime in high school football, especially the way football is being coached now, I think the offenses in most programs find a way to be dynamic. And so when you have a team that gets shut out or scores 3 points or 1 touchdown, maybe whatever at the end of the game, like they got beat, you know what I mean? And so I think it's one of those things where, you got to give Farmington credit. They're probably a lot more solid team than we're giving them credit for. Now, again, we're going to get to this midpoint where you have, different matchups, but I don't know. I never count Lakeville North out. I would never say they're a down team. Like Coach Vossen he's a solid coach, man, and he's got his guys ready all the time. So, I'm guessing he coached hard, and you got to give Farmington credit. So we'll see. You might be right. Somebody might be right out there. They want some more respect. We'll find out week 3.
Hey, and if anybody knows who I had top 5, they know that I can be wrong based on my preseason predictions. Other 6A note, just before we move on, did you see the Lakeville South, Lakeville North thing that happened after the game? Apparently there was a coach's altercation at shaking hands, just something interesting that was brought to my attention that I have no idea.
No, wait, which game?
It was the Lakeville South Shakopee game.
Lakeville South.
I might have yeah. Yep.
Okay.
And hey, it came down to the wire. It's a rivalry. It's one of the 2 of the best teams in the state. So there's a lot of emotion and build up to the game. So interesting. Something to to keep.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll do some investigating on that and see what I find out. But yeah, there's emotions. There's no question on tough losses, and
I'm honestly a fan of it because I think so many people are like buddy now, which it's fine and it's cool to be friends, but I also think there needs to be a little bad blood for every rivalry. Otherwise it wouldn't be a rivalry. So as much as you don't want to see it, I kind of not gonna lie.
I'll be honest with you, Caleb. I'm a pretty good sport on the outside, but probably not on the inside. So maybe what you see in a handshake that looks like a friendly handshake isn't exactly the words that are exchanged between the 2 people, if you know what I'm saying. So I've had a few of those in my career. You're right. There is bad blood between coaches. No, I'm just saying, there is bad blood between coaches sometimes. Like when you coach a long time, and maybe it's my personality, but I kind of hold grudges sometimes. Like I remember games, where it's like we were down that year and they just poured it on when they didn't have to, or games where, you're ahead and you're trying to take your foot off the pedal and they keep their ones out there and they're just bringing blitzes. You know what I mean? So it's just some of that kind of stuff where you're looking across the field and there's emotions, and football's a high testosterone game. There's just no question about it. So, sometimes even when you're winning a game that is maybe should be out of hand, I would say, like an example, like you're up 21 points in the fourth quarter and you're trying to I'm ahead and I'm trying to get some backups out there, take my foot off, not run up the score on you, but you don't take your ones off the field. So I've got my backup quarterback, my backup right guard, all this kind of stuff, and you're just bringing house heat. You know what I mean? So it's like, well, I get it. Everybody's got their own philosophy, but I'm like, I don't know. I mean, I can put my ones back out there and score on you again. You know what I mean? So everybody's got a different philosophy, and you have to coach your own team. And, it's kind of usually, I always felt like for 30 some years of coaching, that when the team that's got a heavy lead takes their ones off the field, that's your cue to take your ones off the field. And right. But everybody's got their own philosophy, and some other head coach could jump in here and say, well, we got to work on stuff and whatever else. Like, that's fine. Work on stuff, but you don't need to bring a 7-man blitz on my JV team in the end of the varsity game, So that's how you get bad blood, that kind of stuff. I mean, I remember stuff like that too. And I don't know. I never really believed in payback, but there's animosity for sure.
I believe it. Haven't been there in those shoes, but I believe it as far as the player perspective. Anything on 6A before we go to 5?
No, I just think, just to kind of look at what you had up there. I mean, Minnetonka and Maple Grove, I still think are the two best teams. I mean, I think they're going to get tested. They've got to stay healthy. There's no question about that. But it'll be fun to see some of these matchups with some teams that are really going to maybe experiment with ways to try to beat them. And I think that sometimes, these games coming up are going to be interesting matchups where teams do have enough size and speed to, roll the dice and see if they can try something defensively to, make it tougher on them, and offensively, maybe a different scheme set that you catch a team off guard a little bit. But, like I said, I've had a tough time beating genetics my whole career. So that's kind of one of those deals, but we'll see. As long as they stay healthy, I don't see those two teams not being in the Final Four for sure. I think what we're really looking at is, like I said, when we keep going, is which of those teams on that board, when we get to week 7, can we start prognosticating will be in the Final 8 and the Final 4? And that'll be fun. Yeah,
it will be. It's only going to get more competitive from here. So
you can't
wait to see it. Class 5A. I got to go to the Waconia game against Apple Valley, and they whooped up on Apple Valley. I really like Waconia, and I think they're playing Chanhassen going into this week. That's
yep.
At least on paper, it's like that's a really good game. That a top 10 matchup in my eyes for sure. Waconia's. I don't know if you've heard the name of Will Kirsch, but depending on how far Waconia goes, receiver, safety, defensive back, punt returner.
Yeah, he's dynamic. I've seen his recruiting clips. Yeah, he's dynamic. There's no question about that.
Really good player. So that's a game I have circled. But what do you think of the top 10 in general?
Well, again, we'll start at the very top. Elk River again probably had 600 yards rushing in that game. They put up 8 touchdowns or 7, I don't know, whatever. Coach Hamilton, they score. People that haven't seen Elk River play in person, it is impressive. I think what's crazy about that is how a power running team can score so fast because their misdirection and counter trap stuff is so good. But yeah, no, I think that I don't think I have anything different on there. I do like St. Thomas Academy up there. I think that's probably one of the more improved picks from the beginning. They're a little more dynamic than maybe I thought they were going to be early on. And then, I think that second row will learn more this week with that big matchup. I think that will help maybe move some teams a little bit one way or the other if they show up and give them a fight or maybe pull upset if you can call it an upset.
Yeah, Monticello lost to Alexandria by 7 points. It was another 0-7 game, a low-scoring game that, at least from Alexandria's perspective, I wouldn't have expected, especially after the Chanhassen Week 1 game.
Yeah, those are the games when I see those pop up in the scoring, I always look to see if it was a final score. Sometimes they post them and it wasn't a final. It's like, oh, they won 7-0. It's like, wait a minute, that was the first quarter score and it never got updated. But yeah, no, that says a lot about the defense in that game. And sometimes we spend a lot of time. I know you and I are offensive guys, so we spend a lot more time on talking about the offensive piece of it. But sometimes you got to look at the defenses and maybe the scheming that goes on there to take advantage of that side of the ball too. So more power to those guys. And even though I'm an offensive guy, I'm still going to tell you, the old phrase is really true, isn't it, offense guys? Offense, sells tickets, defense wins games. And that's really true. Like I would say, like you can't lose if they can't score, so that's a piece of it.
Yeah, but Bemidji dropped down 5 spots for me. I think they lost their starting running back week 1, and now their quarterback had a neck or head injury that I messaged him, and he's all right and hoping to make a return this season. But definitely, again, I know I've just been following some of the social media accounts, and you kind of get reminded of how violent the football game really is. Of these guys are putting their body on the line, and you really take health for granted until you lose your running back and quarterback the first and second week of the season.
I tell you, every coach has their own philosophy on how they do things, but I really, toward the last probably 5 to 7 years for sure of my high school coaching career, we really limited contact in practice, and I do love the rule changes that we've had in the last 10 years that people, when it was coming down the line, didn't think it could happen. So I think more now, some of these head neck injuries are more just, I don't want to say fluky, but they're definitely not intentional injuries anymore. Where guys used to be able to lower their helmet and bring it in and really, injure themselves or some other player. You saw, if you watched the Vikings game last night, that was a violent hit, and there was no heads in contact on that. It's shoulders and whatever. So it is better, but injuries are part of every sport. It's just football is a little more full speed collision for sure. But I do appreciate the rule changes. I love the tackling changes. I love the protection on the horse collar. I love the helmets off helmets thing on the defenseless receiver, all that kind of stuff that I don't even think the kids these days, if they watch some film from the 80s, would go, what? They would be mind blown that you could literally just hit people like that, defenseless players, like, yep, that's how it used to be.
I've seen a couple blindside blocks in going to games that I expected to get called, but the refs have held their flags.
They're missed then if they're not called. Yeah, then they're missed calls because they should get those. It's the
expectation, because I look at them and I'm like, that there should be a flag there, just because that's kind of what the game has devolved into for good reason, for safety.
Yeah, where 15 years ago that was a great hit. That was a great hit 15 years ago. We'd all just light them up, and the sideline would go crazy. He just hit somebody that didn't see it coming, so that was a great play back then. If there's any coaches listening, you think about the old rat kill play on a reverse. You just dive your tackle down and he spins around and waits for the ball coming back, and the defensive tackle turns to catch the ball and just gets knocked out, and the whole sideline goes crazy. And when you think about that in today's world, you're like, that is not even that player's ejected. You know what I mean? So, which I'm glad we made those changes because it saved the game. I think it's, it just brings in a whole other stuff that doesn't need to be part of the strategy of the game for sure. So anyway.
Yeah, St. Francis going up, and they have a tough Elk River game. That's another interesting game. I think 5A has a lot of interesting games. Matamina has been a big riser. I didn't have them ranked at all going into it. I want to say they played Mankato West, was it? Yep, Mankato West week 1. They won by 2 points, and then they played Highland Park and routed them. think they might be a climber, and they might be a challenger of Creighton that I wasn't expecting really for that section.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we had a ways to go and matchups to go. I do like the improvements that I've seen out of St. Francis, but that's not going to be a game that that they're going to be around very long. And that'll be a running clock game for sure. No disrespect to St. Francis, but Elk River is just that solid. But you do have some teams in that second and third line that I think are sometimes those teams jump up at you because they started some young kids and they lost some players. And I think sometimes those young kids just take a week or two to feel comfortable. And so I think there'll be some movement in there for a couple of those teams that I think are, Monticello is another team that I think is always well coached. So never count Mayo out. I always think they always have solid athletes. I think it's all the wrestlers in that school that end up making that football program even better.
Just a couple more things. Cambridge Isani, they didn't win a game last season, and they're 2-0. They do have good. I know Knox Andrews is a good player. They got I think his first Gus Knowlton or something. I think he's probably one of the best D and offensive linemen in 5A, and definitely a team I wasn't expecting, that I had no expectations, that I think is making a little noise at least early on in the season, which is cool to see.
Well, I think, and no disrespect to them, because they're rebuilding that program. That used to be a powerhouse program in the 90s. I mean, Cambridge in its day was, you can ask your parents about that one. But, when you're rebuilding, I think I do really like how they do the section scheduling for matchups. I think that does help. I said this for such a long time that it's not helpful for teams, for the state high school league, not to be involved in balancing schedules so that teams have a chance to be successful. I don't care what level they have to play at. I'll give you my golf analysis. Everybody can't play from the championship tees. If you got to play from the whites, you play from the whites. Whatever you can be successful at, you got to play from the front tees. I don't care, but I'm just saying, you got to match teams up with teams they can compete with so they have a chance to win. Otherwise, those programs will just get dropped. And that's not good for high school football in any way. We want Friday night lights in every community. So I do like that they're 2-0. That generates some excitement in that town again. And I don't care who you're playing or what your schedule looks like. Still got to coach, win, and do what football takes to win. So get out there and enjoy that piece. So I'm glad they're bouncing back.
Well, I care about what their schedule looks like. And although 2-0, Monticello this week, Spring Lake Park, Elk River, St. Francis. That's a tough stretch of games where you're coming off 2-0. Sure. But hey, yes, all the power to Cambridge Isani. Zach Shatek of Hastings also
that guy
had a really
gonna have 3,000 yards at this rate. He guy's got 600 yards of rushing already. He's like, what?
It is crazy. I had him as one of the top 10 running backs in state going into the year, and he's
that was a stretch right there. I mean, wow.
That it should be more than just top 10. It should.
Yeah, I was gonna say
3.
Again, stats are difficult, because sometimes you can't control who you're playing and how the game is going and all that kind of stuff. But I would take anything. If you got that many yards, I don't care who you're playing or what you're going on. But that's a heck of a number through 2 games. I mean, my goodness, that's crazy.
Yes. Anything else? I think I'm gonna try to get to the Mankato East, Mankato West game. I like to go to big rivalry games, and that's a really good rivalry in Minnesota that I don't know. I kind of want to be a part of. I got to a few rivalry games last year, and usually they're always close. I haven't got to a game where it's a close game. I can cherry pick the games that I go to, so I try to go to the best of the best, and I have yet to get even a legitimately close. I think Creighton STA was my probably closest game of the season, and that wasn't. It was pretty one-sided, to be honest. But hopefully that'll. I don't know. Hopefully it'll be close. I want to see it. I have the 2 teams in the top 25 in rivalry games. It doesn't matter if it's a number 1 team or the last team, but they always seem to seem to be close. So I have my fingers crossed for that one.
So let's roll back a few years to Forest Lake High School with Caleb Casa at quarterback.
Oh gosh.
Who would you consider your rivalry?
Well, I was at a weird point because Forest Lake got moved down to 5A when we were playing, but growing up it was always White Bear, and then we got moved down. Not really knowing how it works, but high schoolers is just hear about, oh, we're just playing this regular season schedule. We don't think it. So like when I was playing, you got to pick a regular season. So it was probably Coon Rapids, and Coon Rapids actually had, they were better, better competition, especially for us. And we both hated each other. So that was like a 2 to 3 year rivalry that we had that I think they actually beat us more times than we beat them, but senior year we got them, so whatever. But yeah, I think White Bear is definitely Forest Lake's thing, but that also, again, White Bear was probably a lot worse than what Forest Lake was last year, and it was a 28-21 game, so anything can happen in rivalry games, and
yes, they can.
That makes it fun.
Yes, they can.
Let's go to 4A. There we go. I got a new number 1 taking over. I kind of feel bad for Stewartville. Didn't do anything to get moved out from number 1, but Byron did something to get moved into number 1, if that makes sense. So you see a lot of teams are, again, comments are be like, why did we get moved down? And it's not necessarily what they did to get moved down, but it's what other teams did to jump them. I think that's definitely the case. Byron, I don't know if you saw that game, but they came out and they took Orono down.
That was probably of a lot of the scores, 6-5, 4A. That was probably the one that was pretty shocking. And so I can't disagree with you flipping them, but I guess anytime somebody wants to complain about that, it's like, well, it's week 3, do something, show us. But I don't have a problem with that, because I do think that was a statement type win over a really solid football team.
Yeah, I got a couple film things to pull from that game, but we'll talk about a little bit more before we get to that. Becker took care of Hutchinson, which
I told you,
people thought was going to be a game of the week or whatever and stuff like that. And that one
Dwight Lundeen, he's the godfather, man. And that guy, I mean, I got all the respect in the world for him. He's one of my favorite coaches in the state of Minnesota, and I'm not the only one for sure. And I told you, after that interview you had after their loss, and they got shut out, and they bounced back, and they came out and played. I mean, he knows how to get a team ready and bounce back. So that one didn't surprise me too much. So I like where you put him. I respect that program a lot.
Stewartville plays Kasson Mantorville this week. I think that's going to be a really good one. I actually got to go see last year's matchup of Stewartville, Kasson Mantorville, when they were in different classes. And that was Stewartville by a lot. So it's going to be interesting to see what's different from last year for this year's matchup.
Well, KMS is, again, that's another one of those programs. I know I kind of repeat myself, but there's a reason that we talk about some of these teams consistently, because the coaching at those schools is solid, and the pipeline of athletes that they create and the systems they run are solid. So I'm expecting those guys, they're a solid football team. I think that'll be a great one. If you're going to that one, I think that would be a fun one to see how the matchup looks and how that outcome is determined.
Yes. I think St. Peter is honestly a school I don't know a whole heck of a lot about. I honestly wouldn't even be able to point on a map and be like, that's where St. Peter is.
Dude, it's where Gustavus is.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. They played. So they lost a tough one to Waseca 6-7, and another one of those low-scoring, weird scores where you're like, oh, it's just two really good teams playing each other.
Sure.
And week 1 defenses are usually in front of offenses, and I think St. Peter has a chance to rise up the ranks. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, every week is just a little more information But what did they have? Worthington last week put 50 on the board.
Yeah.
So I mean, they obviously, and they did that on the road. So they obviously are a solid team. So I think the matchups as we go, like every week, is a little more evidence for just the direction that some of these teams are probably going to go, and I think the matchups maybe give us a better idea too when you see how the defenses take things away or can't take things away from certain offenses. So I think we'll see that too. Some of those scores matter. I think when you see some of these teams and you're thinking that they're a solid contender going down the stretch, but they're giving up 28 points or more in winning, that's scary to me. As a head coach, I get super worried about that. I mean, you're winning games. I feel so much better winning games 21-7 than 35-31. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
If your defense is struggling and your offense is constantly going out there like, man, we got to score here. We're not going to, it's like, I think that's something to really look at as we're going through this.
Yeah. Let's get back to this Orono Byron game that I wanted to
Sure.
just talk about a little bit of what I kind of saw. So, I was on the sideline filming, and I obviously don't have a good view, like in all 22 or just at least a huddle film. And it was like the middle of the third quarter. And I'm like, why? I feel like Byron's defense is a little weird from at least where I'm standing. And it's like, well, let's go look at it and just take a peek at some of the stuff they're running. And the first thing that jumped off to me was how back their D-line is from most teams. And it's something that you honestly don't see a whole heck of a lot. And this is only the first frame. Trust me, it's going to get weirder the second screenshot that we look at. But I was wondering, at least from an offense perspective, what could – Orono probably knew this going into the game. It's not like they were going blind into it. But how can this challenge – because offensive – blocking rules, you obviously think of your standard typical D-line and stuff like this, and then when D-line are 2 to 3 yards back, what does it do for the offense?
Without, again, I haven't seen this film, but when I see defensive lines that are backed off, one of the reasons is you have teams that run really good misdirection, and it kind of slow plays the trap a little bit. Sometimes you have teams that are no huddle teams and do a lot of hard counter where they're trying not to jump their guys jump off sides. But it would be interesting because you look at the defensive end on top, he and the corner are at the same depth. So that's interesting. I'm trying to figure out, so they're in a wing set. I'm guessing they have double tight ends with a wide receiver to the boundary. So it's a 12 personnel set with a wing. It looks like a 3-3 stack to me, maybe 3-4. If that's messy. The corner backed off. But I don't know. I'd have to see film actually to kind of have an idea what they're doing. But I'm sure their defense coordinator, there's a reason for it. Like I said, they're well coached. So they've got a reason for that. I guess if I'm guessing at the top of my head, a lot of it has to do with maybe some misdirection stuff that is being done by the offense, because if you're going against a real ground and pound team, being too far off the ball just gives up 4 yards on the snap. So, but obviously there's
is this possible that this is what made Orono's offense sputter a little bit, of having a defense that
I will tell you,
they don't
I don't know. See, here's the one thing, and I was just we'll get to my little phone interview that I did with Coach Johnson at Minnesota, but one of the things that I think is tough in high school is, you don't have college timing as far as your amount of scout time you get.
Right.
So if you see a defense that plays a certain front, and maybe they play 2 fronts, right? Maybe you have a team that is a 3-4 team kind of base, and then they'll take out a linebacker and bump down into like a 4-2 look, right? So you can run your stuff in practice against those 2 looks. Well, all of a sudden you come out in this game, you got offensive linemen, they're they're some of the smartest guys on the team. I don't care what anybody says, right? They got all this stuff they got to know. And they come out and they see a look they haven't seen. And it does make them get on their heels a little bit. And it does make the coaches on the sideline grab their iPads and go, oh, this is not it. I think going back in our situation, going back to 2015, if we weren't the first, we were one of the very first schools to run any RPO looks. And we literally went through the season seeing a different defense almost because everybody is trying to figure out, how do we stop this? And the joke was when we were getting through week 8 that somebody's going to play an amoeba defense where they're not going to line up. They're just going to, and sure enough, we got to St. Francis and they literally just kind of stood in a muddle huddle. And then at the snap of the ball, they'd like line up and try to, so, I mean, and our guys are kind of like, what is going on? So you can mess with offensive linemen.
Well, that's a good segue to our next screenshot, because this was the next screenshot right before they snapped it. And it's a little, it's okay. So that was the first one, 3 down linemen, right? A little bit more traditional, but now there's no hands in the ground. Everybody's standing up. I just don't even know.
What part of the game is this?
This is
like before halftime. Like, what are they trying not to take care of Hail Mary or something? What are they doing?
I guess I don't know the situation. Right. I remember it wasn't something like so it wasn't like a Hail Mary play or like anything like that. But this was this was right after this play, second down. And
are they lining up late then? Or are they just staying right there 5 yards off the ball? Like,
this is a second from when the ball was snapped. So this is basically how.
I need to go watch this film now.
They ran through, which
I'm making a note. I'm making a note. I'm going to watch this because I know I have to have an answer to this. So sure. Hey, and the thing is, when it's successful, those defensive coaches are loving life. I mean, but it is such. Football is a chess match. So sometimes you get guys like some of the most fun coaching you do is when you find something in their defense or find a guy or find a leverage that you can exploit and you get them. And that's a good feeling as a coach. And I think, if they found something here to make it tough on that offense, they obviously found it. So I am going to go find this video though. I want to look at it more.
I have it. I'm trying to be able, I want to see if it didn't load.
Oh, we're going to advanced technology here. I love this.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to try to, because I have the video. I think I have to refresh my computer for it to.
Are we going to go black screen here or just
on my computer? We'll have us up there. I removed it from the stage, so you guys aren't seeing what I'm seeing. I'm trying my best. If it doesn't work,
yeah, no, man, I'm not going anywhere. I got all night for this. People want to talk ball. Let's go.
All right. Well, I'll just send you the clips after, so you don't need to. But you can. It is like they have a full huddle live stream that I did get the screen recordings from. But just one of the things that I thought was worthwhile and could make Byron. It could separate Byron from like another good team that. Like a Stewartville or something like that. But
sure. Yeah, I mean, you took a high-powered team like Orono and held them to 2 touchdowns. So I guess there's something to be said for what they did. I kind of want to go look at that clip now, or more of those clips, and see what was going on.
And the 2 touchdowns are pretty garbage time, so it could have been definitely a shutout if they were trying. Let's go to 3A.
Sure. All right.
Yes. So Annandale stays at my number 1. Not a ton changing in the top line. I think the Cardinals
Annandale
that we talked about are
they
top 2 spots.
They kind of continue what they're doing. They're solid. I shout out to my former Andover football captain. That's the offensive line coach at Annandale, Alex Becker. He's done a great job there too, and the whole staff has. But they got some great players, and man, they get the job done every week on both sides of the ball. So they are going to make a run again, I'm sure. So they're fun to watch. I've looked at a couple clips, and they are sound. There's no question about that.
for sure. One of the other interesting ones is I was talking to a North player that wanted me to go to his game, and I was, well, I try to find good games, and I can't find what I think is going to be a competitive game on your schedule. I think it's going to be weird because no, I think North is legit this year, but it's just a matter of they're playing. I don't want to take low blows at programs, but they're on another
Right.
level than the regular season
Sure.
competition, and then
Sure.
they're going to have to, obviously play one of these better teams too, and I think
No doubt.
that
Yeah.
could make things a little dicey just when you play a jump up of level of competition of which you're not used to.
Right. Right.
Scares
Yeah. I
me.
mean, yeah, no. And I think too, the one thing that I was trying to look through the section matchups. Some of the sections have a bye for first and second. Some of them just have a bye for first. So, I think when you start getting to week 4, we'll have a much better idea, obviously, how the seedings are going to start shaping up and some of the matchups that you're going to see coming. Those games will have a higher price tag on them when it's a section opponent, and how that's going to affect the seeding in that section too. So there's a pathway to the US Bank Stadium, and we're going to start finding out in those sections how that's going to be.
That's my bad. I thought I was putting it on it was on my computer, but not on the screen. You could see.
It's all right. It's all right.
I think Fairmont is they haven't been challenged so it's more of the leap of faith. Like I trust them too.
Mm-hmm.
Albany has a good win against Litchfield that I think is also a good team, but I think we're going to find out. The number 2 spot I think could possibly change with the Waseca game that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's a top 5 matchup for 3A that is going to be going down on Friday. That I'm looking forward to seeing the result of that one. Some of the film.
I think those, like I said, those start telling the story.
Holy Family.
Yeah, wow, a lot of love to Holy Family, but they did beat Jordan. Solid win. It was a closer game than the score. They scored first, and then a block punt for a touchdown got the momentum going. And I think it was a solid offensive performance. And I think the defense actually probably a little bit tougher for them in terms of Jordan is I think physically bigger team than Holy Family, but I think they got it done with the scheme and really held their own. We'll see. They've got a tough matchup this week with Howard Lake, Waverly, Winsted. So that's for a 3A school. They have a bigger offensive and defensive line probably than Holy Family has seen this year. So that will be a interesting matchup. So looking forward to seeing how they fare with that one.
Yeah, if you want to know how good Howard Lake is, you can just ask Dassel Cocato. They figured out how good they were. They were my biggest droppers, and it's a matter of finding out if it's a matter of Dassel Cocato or Howard Lake being really good. That's kind of the still thing that at least I'm trying to figure out and navigating, and we'll see what that is going forward.
This matchup, with the Howard Lake Holy Family game, that's in my eyes, at least what I've seen on the clips when I've looked at the huddle, is the Holy Family I haven't seen all the other teams, but they have team speed. I think Howard Lake is a team that's built on size, so we'll see which one can move the needle, I guess, on that piece.
Yeah. Albert Lee popping in there, a new team of the top 25. I saw a couple highlights from one of their games just on a local news station. I see Winona Cotter, actually, a school I was not aware existed before this season, that I'm starting to like a little bit. 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, look. I feel like if anything else, Cass, you're learning your Minnesota geography. This show is really,
I agree.
Subtly, this show has a subtle educational commitment to geography. So I think we're doing that, and we're appreciating that piece. So I love that. Yeah, I think, anytime, I think at this level, especially, these teams get hit harder with graduation, and turnover. And they also get hit harder with injuries than the bigger schools do, because most of the time you lose two positions when a player goes down. You lose your running back and middle linebacker. You lose your quarterback and free safety, right? So I think sometimes you'll see a score and you'll be like, wow, what happened? And sometimes you just don't have a backup that can go in and play both positions well. And that's just the reality of smaller school football. I grew up in that. I know what that's like.
Yeah. You get to another situation where you got a Belle Plaine team that's 0-2 that I still have. They were 25, I think, in last week's ranking, that even though another loss in 0-2, I have them sticking around the top 25, at least for now. Their only losses, well, their two losses, I guess, are Norwood Young America, which I think will be on my rankings, I think, in the next slide. And they lost by 1 point, which easily could have been a win depending on what happens. And then a Wasika team that I think also is really good. So that's another situation where you kind of look, and it's what kind of losses, what type of losses, who are they playing, stuff like that. That's why I have them sticking in the top 25.
Right. I can appreciate that.
Anything else to add to the 3A sphere?
No, I like where you have Minneapolis North. I that school, their quarterback, I watched the clips of him, and he's a good player. I like the way he throws Lockermeyer. I like the way he throws the ball. So they're a team that can make some noise. They find their way into the bank once in a while. So
I think that's going to be a team that's going to stay, just because their regular season, like we talked about, they're probably going to not rise like a whole heck of a lot unless, people up in front of them give me a reason to move them below. But like you're saying, man, I think they can be special this year.
Yeah, I agree. And Coach Adams is a friend of mine, and I love what he does and how he does things. So I always have faith in what's going on over there.
Yeah. All right. 2A it is. Let's not even talk about Jackson County Central because no. Eden Valley Watkins, they gave Minneota a tough battle, and that's kind of where I want to start. I sent you the screenshot that Minneota was like losing at halftime or whatever, and Minneota actually came back to win the game. But I think that shows what level that they can be at and what level they can get to if they're pushing Minneota that much. And we'll get into Minneota a little later, but that's one of the teams I got to see the Goodhue game. They, beat a Randolph team that isn't in the top 25 pretty handily, to be expected. Again, they go down one spot, but it's not a matter of them doing something because they played a real good game, but it's a matter of Eden Valley Watkins just jumping them because of the game they played.
Yeah, Eden Valley Watkins is a solid team, and like you said, we'll get to Minneota shortly, but there's two really different programs there, so that score is meaningful in a probably different way in terms of where those teams are located in their ranking and classification. But my goal again, now last week was the 1A thing. Now this week is going to be the 2A thing. So I'm going to reach out to one of these 2A coaches, and I'm going to find out a little bit more, whether it's Jackson County Central or who else, and learn a little bit more about that level. But I'll talk more about it when we get to Minneota, because there's a good story in there.
Yeah. Barnesville, I have dropping out of the top 5, which is kind of unfortunate. There's nothing really they can do about it because they've beat up on 2 0-2 teams that I think they're way levels ahead. So I think we'll get to see, especially this week, they have a chance to definitely jump back up. They're playing a Pillager team that's 5 spots behind them in my rankings. So this is going to be, I think, their first real test. And if any Barnesville fan was mad at me for bumping them down, 4 spots for no reason, here's your chance to go out and make a statement and actually beat somebody that's, I think, a pretty formidable team, especially in 2A.
Yeah.
Let's look. Rochester. Oh gosh, I was watching. How do you say the L word?
Lords.
Rochester Lords.
Lords.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I wanted to pronounce the U when I first
Yeah.
saw it. I definitely butchered it, and I was like, all right, I'm not gonna even try to put that out on the internet. But yeah, a team that's went unranked to 14th. I think Greenway. I like Greenway. I like their logo for sure. Big
Oh, I
fan.
gotcha. I
Big
gotcha.
fan. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is interesting. If you look, pretty much, three of Caledonia made it back into the top 25. Royalton dropped down a few spots. Warroad, the big hockey high schools in the top
Yep.
25 for football now for me. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
that's good. I think Frazzie's another school that
That's Frazee.
Frazee. Gosh, dang it.
Frazee. See,
See, this is
I'm
why
telling you,
I
the
have you
subtle
on.
geography here of Minnesota. I love it.
Just pronunciations as well. This is
Yeah, I'll
also
just give you.
English
I can
class.
always correct the pronunciation. Because here's the thing: if I don't fix it for you, then somebody's gonna message you, right?
So it was Frazee. What I forgot it
Frazee.
already. Frazee.
It's
Frazee's what I said
Frazee.
originally.
Yeah,
Frazee.
it's Frazee. Yeah, good
Frazee.
golf course up there too, man.
Okay,
Lakes
got some
country,
good golf up there.
northern
Love
Minnesota.
it.
Heck yeah.
Dover. I think Dover Eota's playing. Am I saying that right too?
Yeah,
That's
you're fine.
pretty okay.
Yeah.
Pretty easy one. Good job, Caleb. They lost to Chatfield, which is a really good team. Only lost by 10 points. I think they play the Lords, the Rochester Lords. I think that's going to be a good one, and we'll see some fluctuation depending on what happens on Friday. I can tell you that. That's actually a Saturday game. It looks like
Really.
Saturday game. I'm a big fan of high school Saturday games.
We had a few of those last week. I was trying to find out. Hold on here now. I wanted to look this up, but I don't want to have my keys clicking in the background. I got in trouble for that. I want to look at. Hold on now. Look up Rochester Lords and see what their mascot is. You type it in. Because you're saying it like it's Lords, like that's their mascot. You're saying Lords, like it's not Rochester, like they're the Lords. It's like that's the name of the school.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No,
I don't know what their mascot is. I don't know what their mascot is, but whatever.
You can see it. It's like an eagle.
Hopefully. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
I don't know. I'm guessing. I'm just going to take.
Well, somebody from that school is going to square us up. I know that. So
a yellow-beaked bird. I'm going to take a shot on an eagle.
You're going to say Eagles? All right.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
It's kind of small on my screen right now, and I was like, all right, I'll go with it.
I'll tell you, it's an eagle for sure.
All right, I'll take it.
And if I'm wrong, it wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah, I don't know what other bird people are using besides cardinals on this list. Birds, eagles, and cardinals are about the only bird we have, I guess. Hawks. I don't know.
Oh man, I was trying to. Do you know where Dover Eota is?
Dover Eota. That's one I feel like I should know. You got me on that one. I feel like when I'm driving around in the summertime and I see these towns, I'm like, oh, that's where that's at. You know what I mean? So I spent a lot more time this last summer in southwestern Minnesota. So down in the Marshall area.
Okay.
Where Minneota is.
This is southeastern.
Yeah. Okay. So it's the other way, like the Lanesboro direction. I got you.
Yeah. The Chatfield.
Yep.
Rochester area around there.
Yep.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one. I don't know. I didn't know that game was being played on Saturday, so that's a game of
sometimes
interest.
It's referees. Sometimes you got referee issues, so Friday nights with enough refs, so they move them around on Thursday.
I'm a big fan
sometimes
of multiple window.
For you for sure, you can get around. Yeah.
Yes,
I love that.
For sure. All right, should we move on to 1A?
Yes. This is where I did all my homework this week.
Oh, all right. Well, how about you? You take us. You lead.
Well, all I want to do is just take a minute. I talked last week and I was just saying how disappointed in myself. I spent most of my coaching career at the 6A and 5A level. So when you're coaching, you just don't have enough time to respectfully learn about the lower classes of teams and so all that kind of stuff. So, but I reached out to Coach Johnson at Minnesota. What a class guy. And we chatted probably for almost a half hour. I took up some of his Sunday afternoon, and he was so great. And I just had a lot of good questions about how they run their program and how they're successful and all those types of things. And they, obviously have good players, makes a difference. But yeah, he was really great about, sharing their practice schedule and how they share players, and obviously a lot of two-way players and their development piece with, their meeting times and their training times. It was really cool. And honestly, it's not much different than at, when I was at 6A and 5A. It's you've got a certain number of players that need to rep and how you're going to do that and focus on offense and defense. But he was great. And it's really easy to see why he's been successful there and why they've won state titles and why they're probably going to win their section and get back to state again. I did ask him who he thought would be their contender for that section championship. Lakeville is a school he spoke very highly of. They're putting a lot of points up right now. And so that's a team. And then, of course, he had listened to the podcast, so he was very proud that I was teaching you about one of their other contenders, Bold, BOLD. And now here's your quiz again. Can you remember it?
Olivia, one of them?
That's the O. Bird Island,
okay.
Olivia, and Danube. There you go. You're going to write this down. That's going to be the title of the podcast, Bold.
I'm not going to lie. I just searched it up 10 minutes ago because I knew it was coming. And it's not on. I couldn't find it, but I just saw Olivia that apparently probably the high school is in.
You literally drive down 212 and you just go by every town. So I think the field they play on, I could be wrong. So somebody from that program can correct, but I think that the field they play on is actually in Danube. So maybe somebody, because I love looking at those small town football fields. They're so great. They take so much care of those. They're pride of the community. So that's fun stuff. So, all right, back to the rest of that top. But I did my homework. So it was great talking to Coach Johnson, and I wish them all the luck. He talked about the Eden Valley Watkin game, and that was a battle, obviously, and for them to take down a team that's obviously in a different class than them, is that's a big deal. So really cool stuff. That graphic's really small on my end, but who do you have as second?
Springfield is second.
Oh yeah, another team. Yeah, another team from right down in that area.
third.
Yeah. Opposite end of the state.
River,
that's way
fourth,
up north.
MIB, fifth.
Northern team. Yep.
Breck, biggest riser.
Riser. So that was my high school football coach's son, coach down there, and I got a message from him on social media that he listened to the podcast, and they had a big win over Parker's Prairie, kind of a rivalry game for them. And he would definitely agree that they belong in the top 10
last week.
Yeah. So he said, he'd agree with that ranking, that they're in that top 10 now. Breck has moved up, and they're a team that they're going to make a run to get to the Final Four and get to US Bank for sure.
I think this is my highest 0-2 team that I have maybe in all my rankings in Murray County Central, coming at the 10 spot. 0-2, but they've played Dawson Boyd and they lost by 7 points in a 0-7 game. And they also played Springfield, and it was 33-15, which
I think that's fair.
A lot of teams that have played Springfield. They lose by a lot more points than that. So that kind of it gives me, I don't know. I like to be not record based. I like to look at those things.
That's super fair. That's super fair. I totally agree with that. I think you got to look at strength of schedule the same way you look at strength of schedule when a team's 2-0. Who did they play?
Right.
And they won 2 games and played 2 teams that are not very good. Yeah, you're not very good. So I guess that's kind of how that piece goes. But I can appreciate that ranking like that.
Yeah, if we look, we got fresh meat at the bottom, like a lot of it. The bottom 5, and even the next three, all unranked teams that I think a lot of the lower classes I'm coming to find out is definitely harder to rank preseason. and especially the first
Mhm.
couple weeks in, because there's so much shifting, and maybe I think a team's good and a team comes out of nowhere. And Bagley played their Cass Lake Bina,
Cass Lake
maybe,
Bina.
hopefully.
Yep,
Cass Lake Bina,
that's
nailed that
northern.
one.
Yep, that's northern
Nailed it.
Minnesota. You're right.
Yep. Okay.
Lakes
They
Country,
played
Minnesota.
that was a route that went on at I don't know if it was at Bagley or at Cass Lake. Either way, I have them going in. Russell, what is it? I can't see with my screen brightness. Russell Tyler, I think it is.
You're right.
I want to say. I got
Russell
them.
Tyler Ruthton, I
Ruthton,
think, is
that's
sometimes
there
the
it
other one.
is.
It's
Yep.
that, I think that's the third. Yeah. So I mean, some of this stuff is crazy. I remember this too. Some of it's from recruiting as well. When you get out and recruit some of those towns for well, at the college level, but I'm getting there.
Yeah. Southland also another team that's 0-2 that still made the rankings just based on strength of schedule and stuff like
Sure.
that. That they gave Fillmore Central, who's number 6. They give them a pretty good run at they lost 22-30 there, and then Waterville Asian, which I think you saw in this graphic, number 16 in 2A, they also
Sure.
lost to them
Right.
by 2 points. So I think that's a team that's 0-2 that also could be on the come up as
Yeah.
well.
I give huge credit, in those crossover games. And I think the only way you and I can relate to it is a 5A school crossing over with a 6A school. That matters. Enrollment, football's a numbers game. So those enrollments matter. I don't want to take anything away from Annandale, for example. But Annandale, if you look at the enrollments, a lot of the fact that they are one of the largest schools in that level, it matters. Your depth matters, the number of kids you have on your roster matters, and so all that kind of stuff. So when you can knock off a school playing above you or play them really close, there's a feather in your hat. I hate moral victories, but that's the reality sometimes.
It matters. Unless you're Wayzata, then it doesn't.
Yeah, that's a different animal, that's for sure.
All right. Anything more on 1A before we
I
go
don't
on
think so.
to
I don't think
9-player?
so. Yeah. Let's see what we got with the Niners.
The Clippers. I love their logo, by the way.
Okay.
Clippers, Cleveland. Yeah.
This is where you hit up these schools and you start getting stuff in the mail, like your Barstool. They just start sending stuff to Caleb Casa. He wants.
I've thought about it. I don't know if I'm on that level though. I would like to wear.
All you gotta do is ask.
I would like to wear it. Merchandise while I'm like doing stuff.
I forgot to ask.
I think
Coach,
maybe another year of.
I'm telling you this. I should have asked Coach Johnson when I talked to him on the phone if he'd mail me a team shirt for Minnesota. I'll just send him the post. I'm going to tell him right now. I'm texting him right now. I'm going to say, I'm going to get I'll take a large. I'm going to send it right now. That's what I want. I'm going to wear that on the show next week. Minnesota.
Let's go. Do it. Do it up. Let's go to 9-player.
Go ahead.
Stephen Argyle Central goes down, which was one of my favorite teams in the state. I got to go to their week 0 game, and Kitson County Central chopped them down, or weathered the storm, I should say. And
there you go. Wordplay right there. I like it.
And jumped up pretty far in my rankings. Probably one of my biggest risers just in general with the classes. And I think it's how much. Now, I know a lot of teams, when you beat a top team, you want or expect your team to go above them in the rankings. But that's just sometimes not how it works, at least from my it was a close game, and we know close games can go either way. And there's one or two plays in a close game that really decides who wins the game or not. And that's kind of the reality. So for my money, I think if they were to run it back or just like in the playoffs, I think I would still take Stephen Argyle, but I think Kansas County kind of takes – what is it? You got to take them really seriously, a lot more seriously than I was last week. I can tell you that much. They're definitely on my radar, and it's one of those teams where I wouldn't be surprised if they were to take down a giant, because they just did last week.
Yeah, I'm not going to go away from Stephen Argyle just because I played with a lot of stud dudes out of Stephen Argyle in college, and I know how tough those kids are. Like you said, every game has its unique plays. I think the one thing that we probably don't get to see enough of is at this level too is special teams probably matter even more. You don't get sub outs in these games on special teams, so your guys that you have at the 9 level is that's who's out there. So it's not like people are getting breaks, and so I think that kind of stuff can change a game. Special teams matters. It really, really matters. So I think those are the little intricacies that we don't get to talk about. We spend a lot of time on offense and defense, but I mean, the special teams big plays and the special teams mistakes, I think, are just become more, bold as we go through this, right?
Right. One of the Hills Beaver Creek, we should acknowledge them. They move into the 1 spot. I think that's by default, just based on my rankings. I don't think they've played anybody to note that would challenge them. But based on what they did last year and the players that I know are on their team, they move into 1. I think the most interesting game, maybe in the state, dare I say, comes at this level, and it's Kingsland versus Alden Conger. And this is a Thursday night game, and I'm going to go to this one. I think
love it.
The Alden Conger OC reached out to me through Instagram. And yeah, that's
hey, if you don't come back with a team shirt, that's all I'm saying. If you don't come back with a team shirt, that's going to be my goal doing this show, is how many team apparels I can get. And then when we start,
that'll be I'll actually have
we start unveiling. Just start unveiling
shirts everywhere.
The number 1 team of the week. You just take off your sweatshirt, and then that's the team shirt. That's what I'm going for. Or apparel like this, like they send the mug, right? Like that's the team mug, and then you like have their logo. I'm just saying, like, there's ways that can go. Like, this is the PR piece we're here for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, so I'm looking forward to that one. I'm glad that one is on a Thursday night. That way there's not a lot of competition that's going to get in the way of going to that game, right? That's why I like Thursday night and Saturday games a lot, because especially I can get out to these smaller schools and do some up. It's 2 hours away from me, so I'm leaving right after work. I should get there at like 6:30, right in time for game time. So that'll be a good one. I heard Alden Conger's quarterback is one of the best in 6A or 9 player. It's Metzger. It's probably Ryland from Kaleem, proud Forest Lake middle schooler. He once was. And Alden Conger's quarterback. I don't know about a ton of roster, like quarterback wise, after those guys. Stephen Argyle's quarterback. I'm sure those top teams have a decent quarterback, but
I still think the whole 9-player thing is interesting. Just how the offenses and defenses work, right? So like 3 offensive linemen, right? Yeah.
If you want to watch good 9-player film, if you look at last year's MIB team, I have a video on my channel, and that was my first 9-player game I've ever got to experience.
Sure.
And dude, that OC was dialing it up with, and
a lot of field to cover with 2 less guys. So
yeah, I think there's more risks also, and that's I have no real like connect. That's an outside perspective looking into 9-player, but at least the couple games that I went to, I feel like you can take more chances with more. Not that it's more space, but there is more space just because there's less people out there.
Right. Yeah, no, it's fun to watch. It really is fun to watch. And we spend time talking about Maple Grove and Minnetonka and all those big schools, and they are good. There's no question. But there's good coaching and good players, top to bottom, in the state, and that's what's fun about doing this show. It's fun to talk football and talk about good players and really great coaches out there. There's so many great coaches. So that's the coolest part about doing this. So I'm going to work on that team gear for next week, see what I can come up with.
Get to it.
Yeah.
Um,
You start putting your post office box on the bottom of the screen, and they just start pouring in just shirts on shirts and hats.
I'm expecting you wearing a Minnesota shirt next week.
I'm texting right now. I'm giving my address. I'm expecting that shirt in the mail.
I don't know if UPS can get it there in time.
I might drive out there and pick it up. I don't know.
Maybe get there in 2 weeks.
That's right. That's good
All
stuff,
right.
man.
Well,
that was fun.
Is there anything more that you want to add, or?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
else
I like that. I
to-
love you making me work tonight and asking me, some questions on formations and all that kind of stuff. That's cool. I like Xing and Oing, and I think that's fun stuff too. I think with just kind of trying to peek inside the mind of what coaches are thinking, and just dissecting some of that, it makes it really cool. So, and if those coaches want to chime in and send stuff, that's cool too. So
yeah, by all means, we should have said that earlier. Of like, hey, people feel free to Coach Wilkie's Instagram. I think I tag it in some of the stuff, or at least the podcast.
Yeah, send it. If you got questions or you
readily
screenshot
available.
Stuff, yeah. Send screenshots or whatever. We'd love to go through that and talk. I mean, we're not taking live call-ins or anything, but if people want to send stuff, we can certainly.
I have a plan.
Okay. Who's going to be your screener though?
Hey, I don't know.
You got to have.
It's a rough draft right now.
All right. All right.
A rough draft right now. Luckily, there's no ties to like anything like big. So the screener, you never know who's going to call in, but hopefully, luckily it's a small enough community where there's hopefully no internet trolls.
I got you.
Which you never want to bank on.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm going to do some homework again this week. I'm going to reach out I'm going to see if I can hopefully find a couple two-way coaches and kind of keep working through that. I really want to gain more knowledge at those levels, because those people deserve more love than they probably get from the major news outlets. And they work hard and have solid players and rivalries and everything down there too. So we'll work on that. So that was a fun night tonight.
For sure.
Looking forward to week 3.
Thanks for watching.
Safe travels.
This is going to go up on Wednesday night, and look forward. It'll probably be dropping most Wednesday days or nights. You can catch us talking about not just 6A, but every class.
That's right.
Covering the whole state, like we said, geography over here. So thanks.
This is subtle geography. You're right. All right, man. Thanks for having me. We'll see you guys next week. Take care.